Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. I'm here today with a very exciting guest. I have Rachel Karfeld from the Dawson Academy, and I am super excited to speak with her. But for those of you who are new here, we partner with organizations in the health, longevity, and wellness space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested, drop a comment below. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. If you would, I would love if you would just go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So, I'm Rachel Karfeld. I am the Director of Business Development with the Dawson Academy. I've been with the Dawson Academy, it'll be 2 years in March. I came in with a very extensive background in dental practice management consulting and working in dental education. And I'm excited to be part of the Dawson Academy because one of the reasons why they brought me in is to create another arm of the business, as well as help elevate, the Dawson Academy on a bigger level than how it's been in the last few years. So it's exciting to help build something and watch it grow, and watch our dentists get the education that they desire.
Yeah, that's super, super awesome. I love that. And for listeners who don't know, can you explain just like a little bit more about kind of the Dawson Academy and exactly what you all do in helping dentists?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Dawson Academy is an industry leader in advanced clinical and business education for dental professionals. We help dentists and their teams think differently, more so on the side of strengthening diagnostic excellence, comprehensive care planning, and overall practice performance. Our philosophy really goes beyond technical skill. We teach how to create predictable outcomes, build healthier teams, and also deliver the dentistry that transforms the lives of the doctors, their teams, their practices, and even their patients.
That's super, super awesome. And so I know you said too that they brought you on to kind of create a new leg for the Dawson Academy, which is super, super cool. And so I would love to hear more about that as well and kind of what you're currently working on.
Yes. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've spent the last almost 20 years, which makes me feel a little old, as a practice management consultant. And what that really means is looking at the business side of a dental practice. I started in 2007 with two, yeah, 2007, so almost 20, with almost zero knowledge to what I was actually getting into. And from there, I was trained and guided by industry leaders to really elevate understanding the dental industry through all aspects of dentistry, specialists and general dentists, on the marketing and the practice management side. So basically, teaching a dental practice how business should operate, from being a great leader to working together and having a cohesive, unified team and the right culture, to just process and protocols itself,
Yeah.
which is something they don't teach dentists in dental school.
Yeah.
Um, so when I was approached by the Dawson Academy, one of the things that they really wanted me to help start building was something that Dr. Peter Dawson had thought about for years and years before he passed away. And it was, how do we manage creating a practice management side to the business as we're educating dentists on the clinical end? And as I was brought in here, I was given I'll call it carte blanche to
Yeah.
to bring this into the Dawson Academy. And it's not only for just Dawson dentists, it's for any dentist that wants to be part of this. So our program is actually called the Complete Care Consulting Program. Because the Dawson Academy fully believes in complete care dentistry, it was well suited to actually name it that. And bringing that in, I've basically worked on bringing in new clients, creating the content, building the brand, and just getting clients involved into this overall program.
Yeah.
So it specializes in things like how to build systems around the practice, how to ensure that the team is unified in the messaging that we're all delivering, just making sure that At the end of the day, we know how the business is being run. We have key performance metrics that are following suit with it, and that we're creating sustainable growth year over year for the practice, which
Yeah.
also in hand should be showing our patients how great, our practice is so that they are doing the treatment that our dentists are trained to do.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And you brought up such a good point too. You're like, this is not what dentists go to school to do. So it's like a lot of them, they come out of school and they have obviously all of the dentistry background and all of that side of it covered, but a lot of them end up starting their own practices, and then the business piece kind of gets like cut out a little bit because they just didn't learn that like in school. So they are kind of like, what am I supposed to do? I need a little bit of help here. And so it's so cool to have somebody kind of to help you with that side of it, because it's like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, my funny anecdote, my next door neighbors are dentists.
Okay.
And they both taught at Midwestern Dental School. They just recently retired. And one of the things that they brought up to me was that they only teach about probably 6 hours worth of how to run a practice and a business
Wow.
to their dental students. And you feel for these, dentists who are going into owning $1 million business plus, and then they have to work with team members and they have to understand everything from HR to systems and structure around how to be successful.
Yeah.
And there's so much intricacy in it that I think it just overwhelms them as they go through this process, which is what's kept me gainfully employed for the
Yeah.
last 20 years in the dental field.
No, that's awesome. And that's, I mean, that's why like jobs like yours exist, is because they're definitely needed, you know? And it's almost like when you're doing the consultancy for them, it's like they're getting like a little mini MBA kind of. Like, here's what you can do, and like here's what you should be doing. Here's the steps to do these different things. And so like when you're working with people, how kind of involved in that process are you with them?
I'm super involved with them.
Yeah.
Everything from I'm getting phone calls on a Saturday morning from clients at a dental trade show asking if they could buy, if they ask me permission, mind you,
Yeah.
if they could buy a $180,000 piece of equipment for their practice, because I know everything from what's sitting in their budget and what they need
Yeah.
to do in order for them to have growth, but also don't overspend.
Yeah, of course.
To can I afford another team member in my practice? And right now, in the climate that we're in with employees, that's probably my number one area that I speak to clients about on a day-to-day basis is the employment,
Yeah.
and how to keep and motivate team members. And, when we have hygienists who are asking for 50 and $60 an hour, how do I keep them motivated to stay?
Yeah.
And, then I'm not having to risk them leaving me. So there's a lot that goes into it that they get a little overwhelmed with, which is okay because that's running a business.
Yeah.
But they know that they have me as a sounding board to come back to me and say, all right, here's the situation. And I probably, give them a lot of leeway in terms of contacting me. But for me, I enjoy it. And I now brought in a partner in with me on the consulting side who's been a consultant for 30 years. And the two of us, just think so similarly to how we would help a client. And I mean, we'll be on the phone for 2.5 hours sometimes with
Yeah.
some of our clients, getting them to think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about the other day was, you know, the mindset of abundance versus scarcity. And I think dentists go into that mindset of scarcity more so than anything because they know that, or they think that there's no other option out there for them on how
Yeah.
they need to operate. So we kind of give them a little bit more peace of mind on how we can get them to move forward successfully with the right decisions that they need to be making.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like for a lot of people too, that's like a common mindset is the
Hmm.
scarcity versus abundance. It's almost something that like everyone has to kind of face at one point in their lives, I feel like. So, especially as a business owner too, you see kind of those mindset, I guess, like things that aren't good, like bad mindset qualities. You see those come out a lot more quickly than you would if you were just, you know, an employee or, whatever. But I feel like as a business owner, you see them come out and it's like there and you can't ignore it almost.
Absolutely. And I think it's a lot of that mentality of, they have such a turnstile of employees coming in and out. So partially they fill seats because of desperation. We have to have a dental assistant, we have to have a front office. But they're, because of the scarcity of we won't find the right person, or it's going to take us months to find the right person, they just start filling it in. And what it does, it just creates more stress on them as a business owner. It creates stress on the practice because, we might have people in here who shouldn't be there at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
for sure.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and hiring is such an important part too. It's like if you hire the wrong person, it takes so much more time to like get them out than to just like wait for the right person because it's going to cost you money, resources, time to hire that wrong person, and then you're still going to have to hire the right person.
Exactly. Created alongside with Larry Gazzardo, who also teaches our business courses for the Dawson program. He and I created a brand new course that we launched as a pop up in August, and
That's
it's
awesome.
called the CEO approach. And what it turns into is a full 2 day course for doctors and office managers that focus in on leadership and management. It focuses on financial management of the practice. And then the second day really focuses in on human capital management
Wow.
and really understanding the circle of life, of everything from hiring to the point of, we're going to ask you to be successful elsewhere.
Yeah.
And not being fearful of having crucial conversations with team members. And how do we properly train team members who need to be up leveled in some way? And we feel that they're going to be good, but maybe we just need to have a different approach on that training and expectation setting.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That's super, super cool. And besides employment as well, like, is there anything that you see a lot of dentist practices and practice owners struggling with as well that you're like, okay, we have to go through this with literally everybody?
Yeah. I go and do a practice observation when I start
Cool.
working with a practice. So I'll travel out to their office and I'm a fly on the wall and I spend a day with 9 pages of probably 200 plus questions of, do you do this in your practice? Is this how
Yeah.
you want your system to run? And I'm utilizing it off of best practices that I've learned over the years in dentistry. I was taught by some of the top dental professionals in the industry, everyone from Roger Levin to Imtiaz Manji to Frank Spear, and their philosophies. And, I've taken a lot of that alongside with me, as well as Pete Dawson's philosophies as well. And with that being said, I know what I'm looking for in a practice. And when I do that, I'm turning around and giving them a full report of here's where you're doing well. And here are the opportunities create an improvement, kind of
Okay.
word
Awesome.
weakness,
Yeah.
right? And so I would say 90% of the time, it's typically around team communication and scheduling.
Yeah.
Because when I get questions such as, I'm not profitable, and that's a big area in a practice, because when I look at leading versus lagging indicators, a lagging indicator is production, but the leading indicator is how are they doing their follow up with patients after they leave the office and don't accept treatment? How are they dealing with things like their retention numbers? The patient leaves with an appointment, but then all of a sudden our retention's sitting at 70% because they're canceling at some
Yeah.
point. And what is their cancellation rate looking like? And that's a big factor to profitability. So, when I've looked at and I make them do meetings so I can watch a meeting,
Yeah.
and there are times that they're great, and there are times that I can honestly say, yeah, you need a little help there. And
Yeah.
with that, this is why communication sometimes, even in a practice of 5 people,
Yeah.
and I have practices that small, but I also have practices that have 30 people, in it, that if we're not communicating intention on a day-to-day level, we're not going to hit the goals that we're trying to achieve. And when we have those, I call them morning huddles, and it's
Yeah.
my biggest non-negotiable with every single client I work with. If they're not having the right type of morning huddle that creates intention for the day, which should be creating intention for the next 10 days, then the question of why are we not hitting goals becomes very evident.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Because everyone's just like not on the same page. I mean, even between 5 people, like I'm thinking, it's so easy to have miscommunication, especially if you're not aligning, where you're not like actually talking about like, okay, this is the goal, like we want to do this by this quarter, like this is how we want to serve our patients. This is how we want to communicate what our practice does. It's so important to be aligned on all of those levels so you're working cohesively.
Absolutely. And, I'm a big numbers person. I mean, if it's not on a spreadsheet, it's through data analytics. And half the clients are on an analytic platform called Dental Intelligence. The other half might be using some spreadsheets that
Yeah.
I've created. And, until they get ready for it, or, well, it also has to integrate with their software. So that's the other side to it.
Yeah.
But, it's giving them really good indication of what they need to put their focus and attention to so that they're achieving the goals that they want to achieve. Because when I'm creating bonus structures for practices, the bonus is more of a performance-based bonus, and it
Yeah.
takes an entire team to actually help achieve that. So they get, a couple of parameters plus, 3 or 4 key performance indicators that the team is putting focus on, and every single key performance indicator that we're actually monitoring has everyone's hands in it in some capacity.
Yeah.
So when I say things like cancellations, yeah, we can blame the front office all we want on, patients canceling, and
Yeah.
we're just letting them, oh, you need to cancel? Great. We'll schedule you next week. Versus, are we really looking at how we build value in the back office from the clinical side to why that patient needs to come back in 6 months for their, we call them prophy appointments,
Yeah.
because they're not a cleaning. Um, it's kind of driving different behaviors, and that's really what practice management consulting is. It's driving a different behavior to get a different result.
Yeah. You're looking at the business at a very holistic level rather than like looking at it as just like, okay, this person here, but it's like, okay, how as a team overall can we improve on this one thing? And like I love that you mentioned, KPIs and like using your data and all of these metrics, because I mean, I work in marketing, so of course I love data and metrics.
Yes.
Exactly. No, that's super, super cool. Well, with growing kind of this new leg of the Dawson Academy, what are kind of your goals over the next like year or two, and where do you kind of see this headed for the Dawson Academy?
I mean, just an ever growing part of the business. It took us about, I would say, since I started it, when I literally started probably 2 weeks into my employment here back in March of
Yeah.
24, where it was mentioned in the smallest of ways, but it was mentioned to a good audience. That's how I started getting my first few clients.
Yeah.
They were graduates of the Dawson Academy core curriculum program. And they knew that in order for them to implement what they've learned in the most positive way, they needed a little help to guide them along. Along the way, I've brought on other clients through different channels of I do webinars through the Dawson Academy. I've spoken to study clubs live and done, some training sessions. And then I've spoken at our Core 7 graduation course, which is once they complete their coursework, we have our ending course, and they have me up on stage to talk about how to, running a practice, and that's been bringing in clients. So awesome. We're expecting to do more things. I'm actually I was invited to speak at Yankee Dental Congress in Boston at the end of January. Awesome. So I'm going to be doing a 3-hour, very condensed CEO approach course for dentists and anybody who else is joining that. So I'm really excited about that. And Boston's kind of my hometown.
Cool. So that's awesome.
Excited about doing that. And, down the road, there will be more opportunities to speak to build this business as much as we can. And Larry and I both have been in the industry long enough that we know the routes that we need to go to. I partner with a lot of our partners, such as BiteFX, Dental Intelligence. There's a couple others out there, Dental Revenue, that, we utilize to curve, that I'm starting to work with more of, how to get in front of the dentists that work with them as well, so that we could just keep building this. So we've built it up in the last year with a good amount of clients, and those first group of clients that signed up early, I don't like the phrase beta testing too much, but I'm going to utilize it right now.
Yeah.
Because I was still building it as we were going, but they all continued. So they're all in their second year with me, and which says a lot in terms of like how we, want to keep these things going, because consulting is not a one-time event. Yeah. It's something that goes on for time, for years. And I've worked with clients who worked with consultants for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've had my own clients in a couple of companies that I was at for 7 and 8 years, for 6, 7 years, that they were my clients. And I still talk to them to this day. They still come to me for advice. So it's really rewarding. And them having a partner who's an advisor to them is something that is a true value that they see out of this. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, it definitely does. Just continuing to grow it and help also your clients with growing their businesses too, because you can tell that obviously you're very, very passionate and very knowledgeable about what you do too. So like, of course you want to really help your clients, you're like, okay, this is what I've been doing for 20 years and I want to just keep doing it.
I've been called the problem solver. So it's like, I like sitting and figuring out how to solve the problem. And that's awesome. I don't know it. I have plenty of resources who would know, who could guide along the way to help get there. So, it's great to have a nice wide network of people. And I'm foreseeing some bigger changes as we keep going with this. Still building the plane in the air basically as we're going, but we're on a good path right now, and it's been really exciting.
That's awesome. I love that. That is so great to hear. Well, let everyone know what is the best way to find you. What is the best way to find the Dawson Academy as well. I will put all the links in the show notes for easy access as well. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right.